layman's view, the government took many steps from March 2020, for example, the restriction of movement and vaccination to control the pandemic. It is now the end of July 2021 and the situation is more terrible than it was earlier in the year. Why is this? Asking the right questions in the right order at the right time is more useful than blundering in the darkness. Can we ask ourselves some questions so that we can discover some truths? First question, did our leaders respond quickly? The first COVID-19 cases were detected in Malaysia on or about the 25th of January 2020. There were only 3 cases. At that time, there was a power struggle. On the 28th of February, Tun Mahathir resigned as the Prime Minister. Tan Sri Maidin Yassin was appointed as Prime Minister on the 1st of March 2020. Now, an entire month was wasted on political power games than in understanding the danger of the pandemic and in crafting solutions. Since then, Malaysians have been subject to various forms of restriction in movement and by movement control orders. On the 12th of January 2021, a constitutional emergency was declared. On that day, 559 patients had died of COVID-19. Some 3,309 cases were reported. The total number of active cases was 141,533. In the letter announcing the proclamation of emergency, dated the 12th of January 2021, His Majesty the King spoke how certain hospitals on that date had exceeded more than 70% of their bed capacity. Now, 6 months later, it is much, much worse. Yesterday, 95,772 people were tested. Some 11,985 people tested positive. As of today, 7,994 have died. That is 14 times more than the day of the emergency. Today, active cases stand at 160,903. This is 13% more than the day of the emergency. Today, we've had 17,046 new cases. That is 5.15 times more than the emergency day. Fewer beds are available. Incoming patients sit on wheelchairs waiting for temporary beds. When an ICU bed is eventually available, they are moved into it. They have to wait. Our ICUs are overwhelmed. Our medical staff, fighting against the greatest odds, are exhausted. The next set of questions are, is protecting the lives of people more important when they have no life in reality at all? It is true that the government put the country under emergency to prevent deaths. I agree this was necessary, maybe for 2 or 3 weeks, no more. That short time was necessary for the government to organize itself to fight the pandemic. It had to come up with the strategy to purchase vaccines and to work out delivery systems. True it is that we must protect the country against the pandemic. Allowing people to intermingle without proper SOPs will spread the pandemic quicker. Yet, this precautionary step must be tested. Engaged in a battle, at some point you must stop to buy food and supplies for your troops. Where will you get the money for it unless your people buy, sell, and trade services? But how can there be a healthy economy if people are locked up in their homes? How can we fight a prowling enemy by hiding in our homes? What should the government do then? The federal government's flip-flop methods are a massive failure. The number of infections and deaths keep shooting up astronomically. We should try something new. I have some ideas. The government can consider the following ideas. Tip 1. Why are we hiding from the virus that is here to stay? Viruses have existed for trillions of years. There are more viruses in the world today than there are stars in the universe. Viruses existed a long time before the humans did. They are here to stay. For millions of years, humans have suffered and died of them. So we must accept that people are going to die. Even before the pandemic, people were dying in road accidents, of all kinds of infections and health issues. Over time, the human race has become stronger. We need to develop an immunity to them. Tip number 2, why are we not adequately educating the public? People are infected not because they are disobedient. They don't know how dangerous it is and how the virus spreads. Remember Filem Negara, Malaysia? The black and white tiger across the screen? It churned out public health notices. It sent out social benefit messages. It did a great service to the nation. So let's use social media platforms in the same way. Let's educate the public widely. Tip number 3. Why aren't all businesses fully open with strict SOPs? It's a matter of life and death for the national economic engine to restart. A robust economy generates money. Part of that money goes to putting food on the table, paying rents, and paying utilities and taxes. You cannot win a war if your soldiers are dying of hunger. So it makes sense that all the people in those areas of the nation which are commercial hubs, for example the Klang Valley, need to be treated with vaccines. So also schools must reopen. Should we not vaccinate the teachers and the students? Now let's deal with factories. Factories are full of machines. Machines don't get sick of the virus. Now people do. If the whole factory is full of infected people, shut it down for a short while, perhaps a few hours, until it is disinfected. That is what the law says must be done. Shutting factories down for days makes no legal or economic sense. If those engage in the trades, in the industries, and in the field of manufacturing are protected by vaccination and by other medication, they can get out of their homes and revive the economy quickly. When everybody goes back to work, the economy will be an efficient, humming machine churning out money and work. Tip number 5. Why can't businesses and factory owners buy their own vaccines for their workforce? Encourage these businesses to follow strict SOPs. Health inspectors can monitor them. That will save the government a lot of money. Private companies can do their national duty and protect their workforce. That will take a huge burden off the government. Tip number 6. Why are we not allowing private clinics to administer the vaccine? We have thousands of private clinics and government health clinics, or what you call klinik kesihatan, all across the country. Why are we not leveraging them? Most of the doctors in all of these institutions have been trained by the Ministry of Health. Why waste so valuable a resource? Tip number 7. Can we put people under house arrest and not expect depression and anger? Will a dead economy not make people angry? Opening the economy will prevent psychological issues. The number of suicides is alarming. Don't you think people will rebel if they are put under house arrest? Why can't we make our people happier? Tip number 8. Why can't we spell out SOPs and severely punish those who break the rules? Why punish the small man and let the rich and powerful who blatantly disregard the rules get away? This just leads to public anger and the small man finding ways to break rules without getting caught, and this will spread the virus in the process. Tip number 9. Why are we mollycoddling people who disobey the law? Why are we allowing people to make it more expensive to deliver vaccines? Why are we so easily forgiving of medical staff who inject patients with empty syringes? This is more than a crime. It's a matter of life and death It's a crime under the Prevention and Control of the Infectious Diseases Act. The punishment is a maximum fine of $100,000 and a maximum imprisonment of 7 years. So stop mollycoddling them, arrest them, charge them, and if found guilty, hand out maximum sentences. Tip number 10. Why aren't we buying cheaper vaccines? Vaccines from the West suffer from several weaknesses. Their storage and delivery are difficult and expensive. But what if there are vaccines that can work without these problems? Well, Indian scientists working with their Western colleagues have created several cheap vaccines. Most do not require any kind of refrigeration and they are exceedingly cheap. Why are we not buying them? Tip number 11. Is the government implying that Sinovac is useless? Now, Sinovac is an effective vaccine. China's scientists are world class. China is number one in tackling the pandemic and bringing it under control. Chinese and Indian technology behind the vaccine is time-tested technology. It's a weakened virus that triggers antibodies that protects you. This is the same technology that was used in all vaccines that we have received throughout our lives. One Malaysian minister said that the administration of Sinovac was going to be stopped. Another minister, Khairi Jamaluddin, then said, any future procurement of vaccines will be from Pfizer. Does this not undermine Sinovac's good track record? Any layperson who does not understand the science of vaccination, who does not understand virology, would immediately think that something was wrong with Sinovac. She will say, I am not going to take it. These guys are rejecting it. How are we now going to vaccine the balance of 60 to 70% of the population while ministers who constantly put their foot in their mouth cause confusion? What is the very best vaccine in the world? I'll tell you, it's the first vaccine in your arm. So why not try other cheaper but equally effective vaccines? Tip number 12. Why are we not making simple test kits available openly so we can test ourselves? This will tell us what the correct numbers are. It will encourage us to look for better solutions. I suspect the real numbers are larger than what is being reported because we haven't tested it across the nation. So I hope the government will consider these points, and these are my suggestions from a practical standpoint. I'm only a layman. Thank you for watching. Subscribe, share widely, like, and good night.